Hi, you guys. So, I think a very important criteria for evaluating anyone for a friendship is that they have done some kind of self-improvement work. Anything at all. Whether it's landmark, therapy, couples counseling, coaching, something where they had to look at themselves and work on themselves. It's not enough to have just read a book. It's not enough to do meditation retreats, yoga, breath work. That's all about just a practice. It's so important that people have done work where they had to look at their own flaws, their own weaknesses, and go inside of themselves and discover, their shadow. Learn to say, I made a mistake, and be comfortable with making internal changes. Because if I think of all the people in my family who have issues, they're all nice, but they all have issues because none of them have done work on themselves. I'm the only person in my family who's done work on herself. I mean, my mom meditates, but she still has, personal growth requires looking at ourselves. And when people don't want to do that, they're basically saying they don't want to change. They're afraid to change, whatever reason. Basically, this is what happens. As children, we all get wounded, okay? We're either ignored, we're either abandoned or infringed upon. We see unhealthy relationship patterns. We build a way of protection, okay, because children are smart and adaptive. And then we get into adult relationships with those protections still in place. We use these losing strategies of freeze, flight, fight, or fawn, because we're just like scrambling when we get triggered. We don't know how to deal with our triggers. We don't know how to be relational. And if we've never learned it, we enter relationships as pretty damaged people, and it only comes out in our intimate sexual relationships. So you might meet someone at work who's great, or they're very charming as a public speaker. And some of these people who are bad in relationships are very charming and funny. But get them into a conflict in a relationship, or they feel neglected, or their needs aren't met, and wow, they either wall off or rage or whatever. And I'm making this video because it's just becoming more and more clear to me that this has to be a condition for anyone in an intimate relationship. If the person you're with has never done any work on themselves, I'm just raising a red flag here. It just shows they're not interested in that. And if they're not interested in looking at themselves, then any problem in the relationship is all going to be your fault. If you disagree, leave a comment. If you disagree, leave a comment. But I just went through something with someone in my own family who's a super sweet, charming, fun person, very loving and kind and generous. But in this person's intimate relationship, and I've seen this person over the years with different people, this person is angry and controlling and blames everybody else. And I've been taking this person's side for years, trying to be there for this person. But no more. I just point out one thing. Your anger and control are causing the problem. And boy, all hell broke loose on me. How dare I say that in all this? So I'm just giving you a real world example. I saw it in front of my own eyes. And that person has never done any work on herself. Whereas this person's partner, who is now done with her, has done a lot of work on himself. A lot of work. And that's another thing to look at. Who is the person wanting to go to therapy? Who is the person wanting to go to counseling? That person is the one who's not to blame. Okay, the person not wanting to go, the person not going is the person to blame. And there is blame usually in a relationship that isn't working out. There is usually one person that's more to blame. Now, I will say, when that person does change, and sometimes they do, then we have to reevaluate who is to blame. But when I say blame, I'm saying that the chaos or the problems are coming more from that one person. It isn't always both people equally. That's a myth that we're taught, that everyone has a part. Because in relational life therapy course that I'm taking, we learned that there is one person who plays the bigger part. The person who's really walled off or really boundaryless is causing most of the damage. So we want to work with that person first. And generally it's the person who didn't want to go to therapy at all. You know, it's the person who's always saying, what can I work on? What's my part? How can I get this relationship to be better? I keep trying. That's the person who isn't immediately at fault. Their problem might just be fawning, trying to fix, trying to change someone, or, you know, not knowing they deserve something better. And then later on, when the originally more blatant person does change their behavior and drops their anger and control, let's say, the first person, the person who was just putting up with it, then their issues will come out often. But we want to start with that. Anyway, I just really, really urge you, before you start dating anyone, that you find out their interest in personal development work, and also ask if they've ever been in a fulfilling relationship. Have they ever learned to care about another person's feeling? Think about the unit, the relationship unit or the family unit, or have all the relationships been about me, me, me? In the case of this particular family member, this family member has never, as close to my age, has never had a fulfilling relationship, yet has not sought any counseling or therapy to figure this out. Yeah, so I'm just, you know, starting to see more and more what's really required of people in relationship is, you know, for a successful relationship, I think we have to look people who've done inner work, who show interest in working on themselves and looking at their part, and who have the ability or the history to be relational. And if you're a young person, this is your first relationship, then, you know, you can look at this person's friendships or how they deal with family members, how they deal with other people close to them, and then just kind of watch and see how they are. See how they relate, see how they solve conflict, because relationships are going to be full of conflict. How do they deal with it when they're triggered, when they don't get their way, and especially when their needs aren't met? Are they going to punish you, go off on you, you know, manipulate you, or are they going to make healthy bids for reconnection? And if they do lose their temper, or I'm not saying hit you or whatever, or rage at you, but, you know, say that they get annoyed, that they're able to come back and apologize and remember the relationship is something that is their focus, not getting back at you or making you wrong. Anyway, this video is getting way too long now. The point is, don't get into intimate relationships with people who don't think they ever have to change anything about who they are. Because, you know, whenever there's a problem, it's your fault. Peace, 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 peace.